Okay, good morning, class. Now, for today's class, what we are actually going to do is we are actually going to talk or discuss about message strategy and tactics that one uses when we talk of advertising. Okay, so we will start first with the topic of the objective of advertising, right? What is the basic objective? Like as we had been discussing in your previous classes also, it's basically to persuade an audience to buy a product or services. You're persuading them, forcing them, right? And advertising, what does it help? It helps to get new customers, or it helps to retain the existing customers, right? And why do the companies want to acquire the customers? Why do they want to persuade so that they get customers and they retain their customers? Because new customers who do not know that you exist, that the company exists, right? That's the main objective. People don't know about the company. That's why to get those new customers, and also to take away the customers from your competitors because you want to move ahead in the market ahead of your competitors, right? Customer retention next comes up, right? So where you want to retain your current customers, and also customers who are trying you, who tries to go back and forth, right? Who have left you, who were there and who left you, who went to other buying goods from other the competitors, so you want to get them back. So the advertising objective, when we talk of objective, so it is basically a statement of what the advertising must accomplish, what the advertising wants to achieve, right? With regards to like including shifting one of these customer groups that we've discussed right now into the current user category, right? And also to ensure that customers are buying repeatedly, repeated buying. So the steps that is involved in developing a communication program, you need to have a proper communication with your customers. So what you have to do, you have to identify the target audience, who the audience are. You have to determine the response, how through a market survey about the customers. Then accordingly design a message of the advertising, choose the right media, and then select the media source and start collecting feedback. So this is a cyclical process. That's how it goes. So this is how it goes. So starting with identifying the target audience, then determine the communication objectives. Well, the objectives here, the buyer readiness stages, whether you have to get your buyers ready to actually buy your product, accept your product. Awareness comes up, right? Then making them aware, providing them with the right knowledge, sharing with them, ensuring that they are liking, the buyers like your products, they preference for your product over your competitors, right? Conviction, they're convinced that their conviction is that assurance that they are actually will stick with your product. And then ultimately when they do that, they are ready to purchase. Okay. The third step that comes up is when you design a message. A message is being designed. See, you have to have a message. The message content, when you design a message, the message, what the organization has to think is the content of the message, which has to be appealing, rational, the logic behind that message, that should appeal to the minds of the consumers. There should be emotional appeal also and moral appeals. Then comes up the message structure, where the consumers can draw conclusions. There has to be, it can be argument type. Your message can be also where you are argumenting and coming, oh, this is the best, or an argument order, like you argue in a sequence and then say, oh, this is the best, right? Message formatting is also important. The headlines, the illustration, the copy, color, body language, right? So when next comes up is where we design the message content. Is designing the message content when we say the rational appeals, where it should appeal to the audience self-interest. It should like as an audience, like as a customer, I should have some self-interest in that. It should help me in some way. Emotional appeals means that where fear, guilt, shame, humor, joy, love, pride, those emotional appeals. Moral, where we talk of what is right and proper. See these ads, you can make a difference. So it's appealing. Education is every girl's right. Okay. Hurry, 7 days. Only quantities are limited. So this is where you appeal. This is where it appeals. Buy one, get one free, 7 seats of absolute power. So it's emotionally, it appeals to you, right? So these are some of the ads that we have, right? I don't want helmet. It makes me look stupid. And then you say, what can the problem be? And the argument comes that you can land up into accidents and mishaps. So it's better. Yeah. So see these are the ads, the very famous ads that we have, right? Okay. So next comes up is where we talk of designing the message structure. The next part of it, where we talk of drawing conclusion. Conclusion is negative. It can be negative when the communicator is viewed as unworthy, untrustworthy. Okay, that it's why, because it's the issue is too personal. It could be one way or two-sided message. So one way is much better. With two-way is for well-educated. I mean, it's much better to have one way is better when you are at a better position, right? Two-way comes out when the other person is quite educated, so you have a conversation, so where people can actually give you feedback, right? Those who can actually start with counter argument. And the order of presentation also is there. First comes up the primary effect, the main, and then comes up the recency effect, then the secondary effect comes up as a consequence of the primary effect. Message format, where we speak about color, sound, appearance, text, illustrations. Now the media channel that can be used, it can be personal, that is through word of mouth, through salesperson, or impersonal, that is through media, through atmospheres, through events that's happening, right? So steps in developing the effective communication. Then we come to the fourth stage, where choosing the media, right? Choosing the media, you need to have, it can be personal communication channels, it can be non-personal communication channels. The fifth step is selecting the message source, and the sixth, as we say, is collecting feedback. So let's go into a little more details. Selecting the message source. Message source, it's really important, right? Because it should, what is it, there should be experts who are there, it should be trustworthy, and it should be also likable by people, right? Collecting feedback. Feedback of what feedback? That whether the consumers are aware of it, whether some trial, they want to go for some trial, whether they are satisfied with the products. So in this respect, we have Taylor's 6-segment message strategy wheel, which talks of all these 6 things: narration, ego, social, sensory, routine, and acute need. Okay, and the transmission view is, it should be claim based. Whatever you're saying, there should be some information coming up. It should be rational, it should be product focused. And the ritual view, this is all part of transmission. This is these three are talking of ritual view, that it should be image based. Based on the image, the consumers can actually see. There should be sharing, communication, communicating with the with your consumers. Emotional, and it should be experience focused, that based on the experience, this is what we have. So let's look into all these things. Yeah, we start with segment 6, which is ration. Which where we think of all the rational benefits. That's at the final stage. We are talking about rationally, and We think about it. Say for instance, when we talk of drinking water, when we buy those mineral water, like we feel it's safe, it's healthy, it's better to have drink that than soft drinks or other drinks. So, and it's portable, it's handy, and it's expensive, so we rationally think about it. Just before that is the acute need. When you really need acute need for water, you're really thirsty, hiking, exercising, running, right? So, and traveling somewhere where water supplies are not safe. So then the next comes up is where why do people why acute need? The fourth segment talks of routine. Routine is where as per the medical professionals, they advise drinking 6 glasses of water each day. That's a routine drinking, and that's why we buy it, right? Third segment talks of sensory, right? So sensation, like when your mouth gets dried, how would a drop of water feel like, right? When you are there when you're walking, you're tired, it's very hot outside, your body also gets tired, so then you need it, right? So then it's actually a need, as you really want it. Second segment talks about social. A social here, there are 3 subsegments: romantic, family, and others. Like consumers who buy these products to win, sometimes they want to win attention, admiration, love, and respect of others. Why? Where they say that, or they pretend that they are members of certain social groups. I only use mineral water. I'm very conscious. So people have a different feeling about it. Okay, so this happens, and when we talk of social or family, social or romantic products, that also includes where we talk of jewelry, perfume, candies. Uh, Social or family products can be items which you buy yourself where family approval is important, right? Where you want people to approve. Social and other products is where you buy products to gain admiration of your neighbors, friends, co-workers. So just to gain admission, gain recognition, gain respect. Okay. The last segment, that's the first segment that comes up, is ego. What kinds of self images, private fantasy world exists for those who would drink bottled water? You're thinking, oh, if I drink, what happens? I may be going up in the position, in the society, my position goes up. So it may not be that, but I feel so. That's my ego. Those who just don't drink mineral water maybe may not be that good in position, and so. But sometimes they also just think of themselves as be like some people feel that we are, if we drink mineral water, we are more healthy as compared to others. So looking down on others, that's ego. Okay, so advertising design, that when we talk of, you need a proper media selection. There has to be a time frame within which can be executed. It should appeal to the customers. There has to be a message strategy, and there has to be a proper advertising strategy. Okay, now the message strategy is, when we talk of this, it is refers to what is said in that advertisement. Message execution or tactics, they talk about the manner in which that broad message is communicated. When we talk of creative message strategy, uh, it talks of different elements that are included in a document, right? Which is also, as we call, a creative brief. And we know, we've already discussed, creative brief is a plan, tactical execution of the brand message. How do you execute the brand message? Okay, so creative strategy or brand strategy. What is it? It's what the ad says. Execution, how it is said. It's talking about what the ad says, executed the way it is said, and it also talks about the creative brief, talks about this creative strategy and the key execution details. What is the ad and how it can be executed? That's there in the creative brief, as we've discussed earlier also. Now, key points in a creative brief, that is the problem. What's the problem that can be solved? Who's your target audience? The brand position in the market and other brand decisions. Communication objectives. What's your objective, right? That should respond to the needs of the audience, proposition or selling idea, which will motivate the consumers to respond. Media considerations, that talks about where and when the message should be delivered. And we have what we say is creative direction, that talks about suggestions on how to instigate or stimulate, motivate the desired customer response. How can you do that, right? So but these usually aren't any creative ideas, but they should touch on the emotions. They should touch on the way it's been, on aspects as the execution, the style of direction, the tone of the voiceover, the person who's giving that voiceover. Okay, the road crew brief, creative brief. Why are we advertising? To create awareness for an alternative ride service. This is an example that we have. What is advertising trying to do when we talk about the road crew? To make that the new ride service appeals to men, right? So that so that they reduce the alcohol related crashes. What are their current attitudes and their perceptions? Say, my car is here right now, why wait? There are few options available. I want to keep the fun going all right from. So these are the attitudes and perceptions. What are the main promise? It's more fun when you don't have to worry about driving. What are the key moments that we tie to? Bam. The fun stops when I need to think about getting to the next bar or getting home. So you miss it when you have to stop somewhere. What tone of voice? The brand character is someone who's rugged, who's cool, who's genuine, that because you're riding a car, right? So it has to be someone like which has to be like a very rugged person, a very cool person, and genuine, right? We need to communication has to be in a language that they can relate to, right? So this is an example. So the message execution. Message execution is through advertising execution, through message approach. It talks about methods, execution framework. It talks of appeal. It talks of theme. Right? We come across to the different types of execution styles by different people have said. So you can have a look into this, right? So the message strategies, it will be, there are three different ways: cognitive, affective, and connective. Cognitive message strategy. When we talk of rational arguments, or pieces of information which are presented to consumers, which is rational, right? That there's some information, so there which requires some cognitive processing, like where it's about the attributes and benefits that customers can obtain, attributes and benefits that customers can obtain if they use the product, but information is the correct information, right? And there's rational argument, and which should impact the customer's belief and their knowledge structure. Their belief should come, because if you don't talk rubbish, then nobody's going to believe. So that's cognitive, where you give proper arguments. Now, cognitive messages strategies would make benefit clear to potential customers. What is the benefit? If you see this ad, right? They're talking of the benefit that happens. 5 forms of cognitive strategies that we have. That is generic, preemptive, USP, hyperbole, and comparative ads. So generic messages, where it's a direct promotion of good or service attributes of benefits without claim of superiority. You're not saying it's the best. It's saying it's the real thing. So you're just talking about the good things, right? And they usually work. It's successful when it is clear that the brand leader. It's very clear that the brand leader the company is a brand leader and is dominant in the industry within where it operates. So Coke is dominating. It's a brand leader. It has its own brand name. So there, people are not going to talk rubbish. Preemptive messages It claims of superiority based on a specific attribute or benefit, right? So once you say this, the claim normally preempts the competition from making the such a statement. So it's when you make the statement, it is valid. You cannot just say this, and it also exempts you from further competition. Like people will not actually will try to refute your claims, right? So where you are saying it's the best, you have proof of it. See, Rice Krispies, whitest white. It's a truth. That comes up is unique selling proposition. Now, unique selling proposition where you talk of a uniqueness of your product, right? Or it can be superior also, and which can be supported with some evidence. It mainly talks about the unique feature. It's applicable mostly in food and cosmetics. In Maybelline, everyone knows that's the best. So here's some more ads where we have unique selling proposition, cognitive message strategy. See this? It's talking about the best. Hyperbole, as we have already discussed, it's an untestable claim based on some attribute or benefit. It's not tested, right? Uh, Claims do not need to be also like it does not have to be substantiated. That doesn't have to be evidence, and it's a very popular strategy. So it's not negative advertising, but it's also like you cannot say it's wrong, neither you can say it's right. So that's a more popular strategy that we have. Next comes up is comparative advertising, where you actually compare a particular good or service with regards to your competitors. Competitor where you do not have to mention the name of your competitors. What is a major danger is that the customers can start developing a negative attitude towards your ad, right? So but it's less common in countries due to social and cultural differences as well as legal restrictions. You cannot say that this is bad or that's it's difficult. There are some social restrictions, some cultural restrictions are there, legal, so you cannot compare. It becomes difficult. Next comes up is message strategies. As we were discussing, we did just discuss the cognitive, so we'll go to the next part, which is affective and cognitive. So effective, right? Effective message is basically designed to invoke feelings and emotions within the customers and to match them with the product, service, or company. It's basically done to ensure that the customers like the product, increase their, they start build recall of the appeal, like they start thinking about it, right? And they get attracted to it. So and which actually wants to have to elicit emotions which in turn would affect the consumer's reasoning process and finally lead to purchasing of it, right? Okay, we've done these two, then we come to the third one, which is connective message strategies. Now, connective message strategies, it's basically designed to lead more directly to particular, some type of consumer behavior, purchase. Let's say big brand sale, one day sale only, Easter Sunday. So it's an action-inducing approaches to create situations where first consumers buy and then they think about it. It's a point of purchase displays. It's impulsive. One day sale, Easter sale is happening. So what happens? Impulsive. Like you actually go ahead and do it. You don't think. See, promotional support, connective thing. This action inducing. Stop. Buy one, get one free. So you're going by and then you're talking. So hierarchy of effect mix of the different types of strategies, message strategies. So if you see for connective, it talks about awareness and knowledge. For effective strategy, it talks about liking, your preference, your conviction, you're addicted to it. Whereas connective strategy is actual purchase. This is the most important thing. If where you ensure that your consumer is actually purchasing it. Other cases, They may or may not purchase, but Connective is where your customers will actually purchase. So, execution framework. Uh, an execution framework is, what is it? It's the manner in which an ad appeal is presented. Could be animation, slice of the first is animation, slice of life, then talk of drama, testimonials, people's testimonies, authoritative, sometimes demonstration, some fantasy, and sometimes it's informative, right? That's how it first. It's the order of how it goes. It starts with animation, basic, and then it goes down to become more and more complex. So animation, it's usually used by small firms with small advertising budgets, right? And it's increased. It has today. It's the increased use has increases due to advance in computer technology, right? So it could be rotoscoping, clay animation, computer graphics. There's a different ways of animation. Then comes up is drama, slice of life, where you provide solution on the everyday problems faced by the customers or the business. Talks about customer person's experience, especially the problems that they encounter, and the problem you encounter a problem, interact, and how to through interaction you come up with a solution. So the product comes up as a solution to your problem. So dramatization, it's similar to slice of life execution framework. Here what happens is you are actually using the same format as where we talk of a slice of life, but and then provide a solution. But the difference lies is the intensity and the story format. That's the difference. So when we talk of an very effective dramatic advertisement, right, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult procedure to do it because it must be completed either in 30 or 60 seconds. So building a story and coming up to a climatic moment within that 60 seconds is very, very challenging. Slice of life is much more easier. It's also a type of dramatization, but that's more easier. See this? New rain keeps clothes bright like new, and otherwise it's black. Testimonials. Uh, this is where a customer in an ad tells about a positive experience about a product. So where other customers are more get convinced. It helps in credibility. And what is the source here? It could be your customers who are using or some actors who get paid. Authoritative. Authoritative is where an advertiser actually seeks to convince viewers. They try to convince the viewers about a product, that the product is superior than other brands. Say Colgate, where we talk about it, 90% reduces plaque up to 98%. You're convincing. Expert, and where you have to have experts who are saying this, there has to be some scientific background or some survey which is done. So someone who is actually knowing about has to be evidence. Demonstration is where where the advertisement which are designed to show how a product works. Demonstration comes the word demonstrate, and this is an effective way to communicate us with the qualities of a product, show the product how it's been used, and that's basically done through television or internet. See this, how it comes up, and this is also where you start demonstrating how it goes about. Okay, next comes up is fantasy. Fantasy is basically where the ads are done to actually enhance the audience beyond the real world, to make them believe, right? So it's see this about we have the fruity, where it's you are imagining that when you touch a bottle you feel the flavor of the mango. It's not real, it's imagination. Some fantasies are meant to be realistic, others are sometimes irrational. So it can talk of your emotional aspects, um, your romantic life, personal life. It can be about your products, the perfumes and colognes that you use. See, if you're using perfume, people get attracted. Informative. Now, informative ads is where it presents information to the audience in a very straightforward manner, right? So is where we have the example is with placement offices where they place it has to be very straightforward, and it can be done on a radio advertisement where it's only verbal communication is possible. It's not so popular in television or print media, because people tend to actually ignore it. Radio, people are hearing it, and informative ads are they work well in high involvement purchase situations, right? So it's a very popular approach for business to business advertisers where they talk about it, and they know that it's going to be realistic. You have to give information. There's no need for ads and all. Spokesperson, it could be your celebrities, CEOs, experts, or some prototype person, typical persons who can actually talk about it. Celebrity spokesperson. Celebrity spokesperson most common are featured who feature in different most ads. They enhance the brand equity, their like affiliation with the brand that they have it, and create emotional brands. More effective with consumers who get attracted, right? Athletes who are popular, and sometimes to establish brand personality. That's why we have it. Okay, three variations on celebrity endorsement. What happens is where unpaid spokesperson, they can be one who do it for charitable causes. Celebrity voiceovers is there. We have celebrity voiceovers, and we have dead person endorsements. Someone who's not here but has said also. Okay. Next comes up is the again in spokesperson where we talk of we can also have the CEOs who have highly visible and who has a good persona, can be a major asset to an organization used by local companies who are very famous CEOs. Experts, experts in their field, and who have authoritative figures who can actually tell, have proof, have definite facts. And sometimes we have typical persons who, when we talk of typical persons, can be paid actors, or it can be everyday person, typical. That's prototypes, everyday person. Expert sources, when we talk of, it could be physicians, lawyers, financial planners, nutritionists, musicians, doctors. Okay. Source characteristics. What should be the person? What should be the characteristics of the person who's advertised doing the ad? Has to be attractive, has to be trustworthy. There has to be, should be related with the product, relatable, similarity. Should be an expert, have expertise, and should be also likable. So matching source types and characteristics, right? There are several dangers in using celebrities. Because any negative publicity about the celebrity caused by an inappropriate conduct, they've done some they are into some trouble, so when they actually endorse for a brand, it can have a negative effect. People don't want to see those person. Yes, celebrities can endorse so many products. They are doing it, they are actually endorsing for products which are competitive nature, so the credibility actually loses. Like people say, then what is best? This person is endorsing for so many ads which are competitive. Which is better? That means none of them are better. So, and what happens because of this negative publicity that has actually led advertisers to use less number of celebrities. So they don't want to take that risk. Creating an ad, right? So creating an ad, it begins first. You have to start with creative brief that we have discussed earlier, which talks about the message, theme of the advertisement, as well as other information, right? And this creative brief is the blueprint. Based on this, the creative group develops a means or ends chain, starting from with the qualities of a product that would actually generate a specific consumer benefit, which is that unique quality of that product where consumers will actually like it, which would help in gaining more customers. Okay, so the creative team actually chooses the following when they develop the means ends chain. Means the procedure that they take to achieve the ends is your customers, how to get more customers. There has to be a message strategy. It should be appealing. There has to be an executional framework, and there should be a source or a spokesperson. And when we talk of executional framework, it should match the leverage point and other features of the advertisement. So what is leverage point? Leverage point is the main element in the advertisement. That's a key element, right? Which looks into or activates a customer's personal value system. Value, that could be a value, an idea, or a concept, which actually instigates or starts helping consumers to think about it. So leverage points, like when we talk of fuel efficiency, we talk of save money. It talks of comfortable life, personal accomplishment, less pollution, so which means clean air, pleasure, smart, style, it's cute car, the car, happiness, excitement, fun. When we talk of reliable, safe for family, security, wisdom. So these are the leverage points that we have, right? So creating an ad, that's what we had been talking about, creating an ad. So creating an ad, we had just discussed about it. It's media selection, advertising design, spokesperson, institutional framework, appeals, message strategy, and advertising strategy. So you have to create an ad, all these factors has to be taken into consideration. So advertisements design, size, factors that has to take into consideration, size. Bigger the ad, it's more likely that it'll be noticed. Intensity of the message, right? Uh, Longer the if the message is really intensive, there's a higher probability that it will retain more attention. More and repeated advertisements can also help in increase intensity. Color, movement, and visuals, like in when you have the ad has intensive color, that gets more attention, there's more movement, so that helps. More visuals. Position of the advertisement in a magazine, right? Position, that examples, back page or the placement of various elements, product, visuals, copy, all have an impact. Like where exactly would you place that ad in a magazine? Isolation, format, and contrast. Isolated visuals, it's when not related with other things, that attracts more attention, right? If you have a short copy format, short copy, and objects that contrast with the environment. So contrasting black and white or something. So black and white advertisement, as I said, that's more attractive in a colorful magazine. That will attract more attraction there. Fascination, message, and information quantity. If and any advertisement which is interesting, which is entertaining, it will attract more attention. Which a message which has too many information, people try to actually avoid that, right? So people would they have so much work, so people are very busy, so any message, who has time to read so much? So message has to be short, but which has to be attracted, right? Copywriting. So copywriting, what is copywriting? Copywriting is a skill, right, whereby you choose the right words, right technique of arranging them in a smart way, which would help in promoting business, product, service, idea, promote a person also. So selection of the words and presentation, that's what important. And it depends on the media through which it is conveyed, right? Uh, so if it's newspaper or magazine, radio, television, accordingly the script will vary, right? But irrespective of whatever the type of media, what's the basic purpose of copywriting? To promotion of your products, promotion of your service, to ensure that you are able to grab consumers attention. right? So copywriting, as we say, it's the art of creative and persuasive writing, which would help from the long term perspective for selling a product or an idea. And we do have experts who are up there who does this copywriting, who are there. Okay. uh, so uh, I mean, you have a traditional way of copywriting, but the most successful techniques is AIDA, that is attention, interest, desire, and action. Draw the attention, create interest, and then a desire, and then ultimately which leads to purchase of the products. Okay, now comes up the elements of copywriting. What are the elements? First is the heading. That's the first and the last impression, right? Proper heading, which should be eye-catching. Body content, right? It should be in continuity with the heading, right? Language should be promising, it should be trustworthy, where you should provide details, benefits. Then comes up slogans, something which would drive you, like say what happens, BMW say, think of the ultimate driving machine. So BMW, just do it. And you say, oh no, it's Nike. So the moment you hear the slogan, people should say, oh, okay. So a well-written and effective slogan is a trustworthy brand representative. Any brand which is trustworthy will have a very effective slogan and well-written, short but crispy, but giving meaning to the brand. Taglines, right? Taglines are usually used for products, some literary products, to actually reinforce and strengthen the audience memory of that product. Say, for instance, she went in search of answers and discovered a love that she never expected. Right? So, book name, that's the name of the book. Faithful, and then the writer. So, talks about the book in a way where people, the moment you read that lines, people would, oh, we are talking of that book. So, this actually tells the gist of the products, and which is eye catching. Right? Lyrics. Jingle lyrics is where you have a message with a background music. So it's a short slogan, tune, or it's a verse written in a easily where you remember. Yeah. This way, for instance, in Fanta, when there was wanna Fanta, don't you wanna? So it's a jingle. So it's very rhythmic. Scripts, it can be for both audio and video ads. And the scripts are description of an ad, right? That talks about the dialogues, actions, expressions, movements of characters. And it's a complete guideline of an ad. Based on that, the ad is done. So it has to be written in a meaningful manner. It should be ordered and should be nice. Others that we have is white paper, press release, or other written materials, emails, articles, blogs. And these are all promotional write-ups written to promote a particular product or service, right? So when you are talking about it, you need to actually focus or on only one product and that you want to promote, describe it, and of the product, irrespective like of the product in very simple and plain language. Okay, then next that we have is the techniques, copywriting techniques. Use of action words such as watch, look, ask, get. Use of buzzwords, buzzing words, right? Buzzwords are eye-catching, right? Such as like now, today. That's what exciting words or emotional words. Wonderful, beautiful. Alliteration. Alliteration is meaningful words of similar sound. Don't be vague. Ask for hate. So it's similarity. Using of colloquial words. Sometimes colloquial words is very popular, and say pick and choose. Punctuation. Proper usage of punctuations, grammar is a very important thing for passing on information, right message. So pay attention while writing headlines. Try to keep the headline as small as possible, 5 to 10 words. It should be meaningful and words should be striking. It should hit straight. It should hit your head straight away. Start thinking, and brand name should be used in the headline, and you should have a stick with a typeface in a headline. Stick with it. While writing the subheading, so it should support the headline. It should be appealing so that the reader is impressed to read the entire story, the entire body. Use minimum but meaningful, fascinating words. Minimum. Okay? Right. Pay attention while writing the body copy. Try to keep the sentences in perfect tense. Use simple and familiar words. Keep the sentences should be small and do not lose link between sentences. Use of singular nouns, active verbs, convey message as it's a new information and so that it grabs attention of your consumers. Avoid using cliches and superlative words that confuses people. Protect yourself from any vague word or sentence when you design it. Using many adjectives, copying any other sentences, that's copyright issue coming up, using unfamiliar words because your audience are not language experts. Be honest, do not promise something which is not there. Do not use too many words. Then, because you have limited space, your message should not be violating anyone's feelings, anyone's rights. You have to be honest and truth. So, advertising media, right? What are the different things that we have? Direct mail, newspapers, radio advertising, television, film, outdoor advertising, play space, window display, fairs, exhibitions, web advertising, search engines, cell phone, transit advertising. So these are the different media that we have. So this is a homework for you, which you can actually do it. So selection, then we come across to the next one, that is selection of advertising media for a company. Objectives of firm, right? Objectives of firm. You have to first think of what is the main objective, right? That should be there. The company's objective should be the prime consideration in media selection, right? That it should meet these media that we are talking of should meet the company's expectations, and based on that it should be selected. Next comes up the cost of the media and the company's financial position, right? Or how much would it cost, whether the firm should be able to pay for it or not, whether they have the capacity to pay it. So depending on that, right? So TV and radio are more cost, films are more costly, print media is relatively less cheaper. Then reach or number of people exposed to the message. It's important. Like how would you reach the different people who are there, different parts of the society? How would you reach? So within the given span of time. So mass media are capable to reach millions of people by just one exposure, within an exposure. So television is one way. Local media can also they can expose people, but to limited people, limited persons. Okay. Uh, Next comes up is companies' advertising policy and approach. So, advertising policy and approach, where you have to think of come up with the right approach, which would determine which of the media would be selected. You have to choose that. Companies and depends on the advertising policy and the approach that determines which media is best. Like if the company's policy is not to spend money or advertisement, then what's happened? It's better to go for cheaper media. So these we are talking of the 14 factors that a company needs to think about when they select the media, advertising media. Next comes up is type of buyers, right? Type of buyers is where people should be actually influenced, people should be influenced to be influenced should be taken into account while selecting the media. Who are your target customers? Whom? And accordingly you start thinking of the media, which would be the best way where you can reach your uh, target customers. Television is the most common, right? And when we you also have to think about the conditions under which the customers are influenced, right? The readers' moods, interest, that also there. So television is again the best way. It's always the best way, but it's difficult to actually determine the moods and the mental status of an audience or their interest through daily newspapers. How will you do that? It's very difficult to do it because you do not know, right? Okay. Also, the place is very important to judge mood of people. Say hoardings, posters, banners, they are most likely to get attracted. Next comes up is circulation and coverage. The area covered or the number of people who is exposed to this media or to this ad, to the particular media that you choose is also important. How many people have an access to it? That's important. Some of the media are catering to the entire world, and some have limited locality, limited availability. Say local newspapers, national newspapers, it's your local newspaper, limited area national newspapers throughout the nation, right? It also talks about international, national and international magazines. We can talk of it. Reputation or frequency implies a number of times within that period a person can be exposed to it. It's mostly outdoor where people see, or as I was discussing earlier in the bus stop, where you actually go to the bus stop every day to board your bus and get down and you're seeing it, right? The more reputation of that image, more effective is that medium. Okay, the ninth point is credibility and image of media, right? So, how authentic is that media? How authentic? Where you're talking of, in case of newspapers and magazines, this is very important, right? So when the magazine, when an ad comes up in a reputed newspaper or magazine, that has a greater impact, right? People don't trust any ads that's coming up in a substandard media. Past experience. Companies' own past experience also helps in determining the media, advertising media. So maybe they had a good experience with a particular media, then they go for it. If not, they choose a different one, right? Experience of other companies, how other companies have faced using that media, what are their feedbacks, they also need to be taken into consideration. So when other companies are choosing a media, what do they do it, right? They should also be have your particular organization has to know about it. Expert opinion has to be taken. It's good. Marketing experts or consultants, it's best to take that advice. They would be in a better position because they're doing the market analysis and they can say which is best, where they're charging fees, and these experts are they're getting they get money for consultancy services, right? But they are in a better position to actually tell you, so it's better to take their opinion. Type of advertising message, right? uh, the message that you are sending also is really helps you in choosing the media. If a message is very simple, media should be simple. If it's complicated, come up with a more audiovisual media, which audiovisual media which would actually suit the message. And there are other factors. There can be certain other factors also other than all this. Okay, next comes up is the advertising budget. A budget, what is it? Advertising budget, it's a financial document that shows the total amount to be spent on advertising. And it also lists the way this amount is to be allocated. How, not just total amount, but how the money is to be allocated. So it's a translation of an advertising plan into monetary units. The advertising plan is there that needs to be actually calculated now, even monetary terms. How much money would it cost? What is the total money involved? It helps in meeting advertising objectives of an organization. It is prepared for a specific period of time. It's prepared by the advertising manager in consultation with the marketing manager and approved by the top management. And it shows the plan of allocation of available funds to various advertising activities. So, the methods of setting advertising budgets. What are the methods? Affordable, percentage of sales method, competitive parity, objective and task method. Let's go into details of this. Affordable method. Advertisers base their advertising budget on what they can afford. Affordable comes from the word afford, how much they can afford, an amount after allocating of the relevant company expenditure is given to advertising. After meeting all the company's expenditure, what is there, that comes to advertising. So it's based on the assumption, pre-assumption, that the firm can only afford that much amount on advertising. But this method is not logical because it doesn't consider the advertising needs. Sometimes you need to pay a little more because of the needs of the advertising, but it's basically talking about how much I can afford. Accordingly, you decide. So it doesn't always serve the purpose. Percentage of sales method. Percentage of sales method is where we are talking about a fixed percentage of the sales figure which is allocated for advertising budget. Whatever is the sales happening, a fixed percentage, and this sales figure could be last year's previous year's sales figure or the average of sales figure of last year's. It could be based on its past sales figures. It may also use projected sales figure, what's coming up, in predetermining and advertising determining the advertising budget. What can come up as a result of that advertising, what could be the sales. So from there you determine a percentage that could be a sale, a percentage will go to advertising. Competitive parity method. Competitive parity method. This is where the expenditures, advertising expenditures of competitors, competitive comes from the word competitor, they are taken as guidelines to set the advertising budget. It's basically believes that the firm will maintain their market share as it spends same amount on advertising as its competitors, because our competitors are able to maintain their position using that budget. So your firm would also be able to maintain the same budget. So this is basically a defensive method, right? It may or may not happen. Objective and task method. It's a most logical way of setting advertising budget. It is focusing on the task, objective advertising task that has to be achieved, and objective advertising tasks are fixed. How is it done? After doing an intensive market research, then you fix your objectives and accordingly you set your budget. So, what are the steps involved in objective and task method? You need to define what the task is, determine the type of strategy, media, amount of exposure required for efficient satisfaction of the task, estimating the costs of various elements in advertising, deciding whether firm can afford that task, can afford that budget. So, advertising budgeting process. How do you do that? You setting up of the advertising objectives first, then determine the task that has to be performed to achieve that objective. Prepare the advertising budget, then comes up the advertising, how much budget needed, which needs to be approved by the top management. And then comes up is how to allocate that budget, which needs to be monitored and controlled to see that it is being done, it has been actually, the money is utilized in the proper way. Factors that influence the advertising budget. That's the last thing that we have up here, the factors that influence the advertising budget. What are the factors? Advertising tasks to be achieved. What are the tasks that has to be achieved? What are the stages in the product life cycle? What are the various stages? Market share, competitors, frequency of advertising, how many times you want to advertise, product differentiation, how is your product different from your competitors? You need to have support from the retailers, and your financial resources that is there. How much money do you have? Okay, right. That's all that we have here for you, and we will see you in class next week, and we will have a discussion.